And now you don't want to over tighten this or it'll crack that plastic. So just snug it up, just don't tighten it up. And now just put your decking screws in each one of those flange holes, or each one of those screw holes. There's 4 of them in this case. So now that our toilet flange is sitting where it needs to be, we need to create a vent to vent this toilet. So I need to drill another hole here. And I'm going to show you underneath, because this is going to come out and elbow over, and then there's going to be a vent that comes up through this wall here. So we're just going to come back and center with this toilet and drill an 1.5 inch hole in the center of this wall. So now we got all of our rough holes that are going to go through the floor in 100%. Now I'm going to go underneath and hook all this together. Oh, and another thing, if you notice, this has a sealed piece of plastic over the actual hole. It's so when you do your pressure test, it's already sealed, or if you do your water test, either one. And then after you're done testing, you just take a hammer and smash that center out, and it actually just goes down the drain and out through the septic or public sewer system. Now we're going to install the drain for the sink. And in order to do that, you need a 1.5 inch T. So we want to come up off the unfinished floor 18.5 inches, and that's where we are going to want the center of the drain. So go ahead and measure up, hold it about where it's going to be, and if you're off just 1/8 inch or so, it ain't going to be a big deal. That looks pretty good right there. So now what you want to do is mark up to where the pipe's going to be hitting inside of the pipe. So you don't want to measure to the, or mark at the bottom of the T, you want to mark up into where it's going to be. So go ahead and eyeball that, make a very visible mark. And what I like to use is, this is just one of those multi-tools that have a head attachment and makes it into a little sawzall, but any regular sawzall will be fine. So go ahead and just cut right where that mark is. And I like to use a metal blade because I feel like it cuts it a little better and a little less rigid. So after you cut that off, you're going to have burrs on the edges and on the inside of the pipe. So just take a utility knife and scrape those off, because if you don't scrape them off, it won't give you a good seal when you glue it, because the little frays and burrs on the side can get into the joint. And on the inside of the pipe, you want to take them off because hair can get stuck on the burrs and cause a clog in your drain. So you don't want that either. Now we're going to install the T. So the first thing you got to do is use what's called primer. And you can get this at any building supply store. It's very common. And you're going to want to prime the inside and the edge of this plumbing pipe in order to have a secure joint. And you got to do that by code when you're working with PVC. So I'll go ahead and hit this T first. And don't worry about if you get this stuff on the wood, it ain't going to hurt anything. And then around the top. All right. And as you can see, sometimes you make oopsies and get on the plumbing fitting, which is no big deal. All right, and you want to let that dry for just a few seconds or so. And now what I like to do is I go ahead and dry fit it before I glue it. And in order to get this square without guessing off the wall, is I'll just put in a dummy piece of pipe, which isn't going to be functional. So I'll go ahead and just slide that into the fitting. And then what I do is take a framing square, come off the stud of the wall, make sure we're lined up square there. It looks pretty good right there. So now what I like to do is just take